Hello and welcome to Lesson 6E, More Exponent Rules. So we're going to continue building off of where we were last time, this time by starting with the power rule. And the power rule says that if you have a base with an exponent raised to another power, you simply multiply those powers. So for example, if I have x to the 7th, then squared, that's the same thing as x to the 7 times 2, or x to the 14th. Similarly, 2 to the 3 times 2 becomes 2 to the 3rd squared becomes 2 to the 3 times 2, which is 2 to the 6th. Then here, 7 to the negative 1 squared becomes 7 to the negative 2, which again we have to write with a positive exponent, is 1 over 7 squared. And then here, m to the negative 4 times m to the negative 5, negative 4 times negative 5 is positive 20, so we get m to the positive 20. And let's take a look at the power of products rule. If we have two things inside parentheses and we raise it to a power, we raise both of those things to the power, whether it's a product or if it's a quotient. So here, if I have 5x to the 4th raised to the cube, that becomes 5 to the 3rd, and then x to the 4 times 3 is 12, and 5 to the 3rd is 125, x to the 12th. 3/4 to the 3rd is the same thing as 3 to the 3rd over 4 to the 3rd. Well, 3 to the 3rd is 27. 4 to the 3rd is 64. So that would be my answer. Here, I would first 5 squared, which is 25. Y to the 6th squared becomes y to the 12th. Over n cubed squared becomes n to the 6th. Let's take a look at the next video. So now we have a negative exponent. I'm going to go ahead and apply the negative by flipping my fraction before I start. It will actually make my life easier. So this becomes 2 to the negative 3 over y. Oh, nope, did it wrong. Sorry, said one thing, did another thing. I'm going to make that y over 2 to the negative 3 whole quantity now to the positive 2. Now I'm going to apply the exponent. I get y squared over 2 to the negative 6th, which is the same thing as the 2 to the negative 6 becomes 2 to the positive 6 y squared. I just simply flipped that exponents up into my numerator. Now I'm going to apply the 5th power over here. I get a to the negative 4 times 5 is negative 20. B to the 3 times 5 is 15. C to the negative 2 times 5 is negative 10. So anything with a negative exponent goes to my denominator. I get b to the 15th over a to the 20th, c to the 10th, and that's my answer. All right, guys, I want y'all now to try these problems on your own. When you're done, you can check your work. All right, guys, go ahead and check your answers. Let's take a look at the next page. Power Man. Well, we are going to now practice simplifying expressions. We're going to always use positive exponents to write our answers. So again, I think you can do this in any number of ways. You can either distribute that power into the parenthesis, or you can flip it first. I'll do A one way and B the other way. So let's take a look. This guy would become 5 to the negative 3, x to the negative 3, y to the positive 12. Well, y to the positive 12 can stay in my numerator, but the other two have to go into my denominator because they have negative exponents. I get 5 to the 3rd x cubed. So that's one way to do a problem like that. Another way is to flip it at the very beginning if you wanted to. Actually, this one's easier just to go ahead. I'm going to do this one the same way I did before. This becomes a to the 6 times 4 is 24 over a negative 3 times negative 4 is positive 12. And then that then would simplify a to the 24 minus 12, or a to the 12th. This guy, I'm going to do a slightly different way. I'm going to flip it first to get rid of the negative. So I get 6/5, and then I'm going to square it. So I would get 6 squared over 5 squared, which is 36 over 25. This problem here, I think I'm going to start off by combining all my exponents and then rewriting with negatives in my denominator. So this would be the same thing as 7 to the negative 2, e to the negative 8 minus 3, and u to the 5 minus negative 9, which is 7 to the negative 2, e to the negative 11, and then u to the 14th. So anything with a negative goes in the denominator. U to the 14th can stay in my numerator. Everything else goes down. I get 7 squared over e to the 11th. And of course, 7 squared, as we all know, is 49. So I can even do one more step over 49 e to the 11th. All right, and that's it for that page. Let's take a look at the next. Here, I think I'm just going to multiply it out. So here I would end up with 4 to the negative 2, x to the negative 10, y to the negative 2, over y to the negative 4 times z. Now I'm going to simplify the y's. I still have 4 to the negative 2, x to the negative 10. I get y to the negative 2 minus negative 4, which is just y squared. I'm just going to go ahead and do that in one step. And then my over z is still in my numerator. And that's okay. And now anything with a negative exponent flips. So I would just keep the y squared in my numerator. Then my 4 squared x to the 10th, and the z stays in the denominator. And I could even go ahead and multiply out the 4. So I get 4 squared, or y squared, over 16 x to the 10th z. Okay, guys, let's take a look at this next one. Here I'm going to apply the power to a power law. 2 to the 3rd times x to the 12th over 5 to the 3rd times y to the negative 6th. And that's going to be multiplied by over here. If it's a negative 1, I would get x to the positive 4 over 10 to the negative 1 y squared. Now I think I'm going to I have a lot of options now. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start combining things. So in my numerator, I still have a 2 to the 3rd, and x to the 12th and x to the 4th are going to multiply to be x to the 16th over. I still have a 5 to the 3rd in my denominator. Y to the negative 6 and y to the squared becomes y to the negative 4, and I still have a 10 to the negative 1. And now I'm going to flip my negative exponents. So I have 2 to the 3rd, x to the 16th can stay, my y to the 4th comes up, and my 10 to the negative 1 comes up, and all I'm left with is 5 to the 3rd in my denominator. Now, if you guys recall, 10 is actually 2 times 5. So this really is 2 to the 3rd times 2 times 5 when we're looking at the numerator, x to the 16th, y to the 4th, over 5 to the 3rd. When I'm looking at this, I can cancel this 5 here to make that a 5 squared, and these guys here can simplify, so I get 2 to the 4th, x to the 16th, y to the 4th, over 5 squared. If I wanted to take that a step further and multiply out the numbers, I could. I am, however, not going to. All right, let's take a look at some other yucky ones. So here I have x to the negative 2a times the quantity 3x to the a to the 3rd. I am going to start off by distributing in that 3. So times 3 to the 3rd times x to the 3a. Now I'm going to combine. My 3 to the 3rd just kind of hangs, And then I get x to the negative 2a plus 3a, which means I get 3 to the third x to the a, or 27x to the a. So he's actually not that bad. This next guy, I'm going to distribute it in that 3. I get y. 3 times 3c is 9c over y to the 4c minus 3. I'm now going to use my quotient property to do y to the 9c minus the quantity 4c minus 3, which is y to the 9c minus 4c plus 3, or y to the 5c plus 3, and that would be my answer there. All right, guys, there's some try-me's for you. Take a look at them, and we will go over these in class. Make sure you give them a good try. Thank you.